Bonjour tout le monde, c'est moi Charlotte et aujourd'hui nous allons étudier 5 expressions en français ou même 5 proverbes en français. So we're looking at 5 expressions or proverbs actually in French, and I've chosen these because they resemble some counterparts which exist in English as well as other languages actually. So you might recognize an equivalent, a counterpart in your own language, or you might just get the meaning from actually understanding the content of the French expression. So, on y va. Okay, so since this video is mainly for the members of my monthly French club, I'm actually going to send out club members, 2 club members, something like this, which is the May handout, and therefore members will actually see 10 French expressions, and they'll also have some activities to complete to help strengthen their understanding of the language they've encountered. And there's also a link to this video which will be included in that document, as well as some other links. One link where you can read further French proverbs, and a second link where you can take a test to check your understanding and to try and match a French proverb with, choose a French proverb's meaning in line with the English equivalent. So it's quite a useful document with some quite nice extra exercises to complete. So if you're interested in joining my monthly French club, just drop me a line. All my contact details you can find in the description below the video. Okay, so I wanted to choose some positive and quite easy to remember, hopefully, proverbs. So the first one you might recognise. So let's go a bit further forward. Okay, I'll pronounce them and then I'll talk around why I think they're quite useful and which structures within them might be of use to you. So, après la pluie, on est là. Après la pluie, le beau temps. Let's change the angle of this a little bit so you can see it. So, après la pluie, le beau temps. Après. So, après you might recognize means after. La pluie is a noun. It's a feminine noun with la in front of it, and it means the rain. So, after the rain, le beau temps. Le beau temps. So, when you're speaking in French about nice weather, good weather, the weather's nice, it's nice outside, you'll say il fait beau. Il fait beau. I'm just trying to find a way that I can be included in the layout here. Après la pluie, le beau temps. So when you're talking about weather in French, a lot of weather phrases have the verb faire in them, but that's not the main point. The main point is that instead of saying bon temps or bien, like le temps est bien, you would say il fait beau. So the word that you use to talk about good weather, nice weather, is actually the word beau, which you might recognise or understand as meaning handsome. But it can mean good or lovely depending on the context. And beau temps is a very common context. So the opposite of beau temps would be mauvais temps. So beau and mauvais are the adjectives that are used when talking about the weather. Okay, beau, mauvais. So yes, after the rain, nice weather. So this translates along the lines of sunshine after the rain, that kind of thing. So if you can think of precisely what the English counterpart is for that, let me know. I understand the meaning, but I just couldn't quite think of what the precise translation is for that. So the next one, number 2, tout ce qui brille n'est pas or. Tout ce qui brille n'est pas or. Now, it's worth noting here, this can be pronounced, you might hear this pronounced in a couple of ways. So whenever you hear a ski sound in French, ski, if it's not actually talking about skiing, which is du ski, faire du ski, or le ski, then it's probably this, ce qui, ce qui. You might also come across ce que. So ce qui basically means that, or what, or which, depending on the meaning. So here, tout ce qui, all this which, all this that, all that, everything that. Okay, so we've got tout here, which can translate as all or everything or everyone, depending on the context and what follows. Tout ce qui, everything that. Everything that. Now, I'll give you the translation for this, and then you can maybe look back at how it works. So in English we'd say, everything that glitters is not gold. All that glitters is not gold. So that's the English counterpart. So tout ce qui brille. So briller is not really to glitter, but you can understand. So briller is like to shine or to glisten or to sparkle maybe. So it's to do with light reflecting or light emanating from something. So briller. Tout ce qui brille n'est pas or. So n'est pas, you'll recognize that probably from the verb être. Je suis, tu es, il, elle, on est. So that's the third person singular. So this is in the negative form. It is not. Normally that would look like ce n'est pas, or il n'est pas, or elle n'est pas, depending on what you're talking about. But here we've got tout ce qui brille. So the subject of this is everything that glistens or everything that sparkles. So even though it's talking about everything, the word itself is followed by a singular third person verb. So we've got the verb prier in the third person, he, she, it form, okay? Even though it's talking about everything. Okay. So the word or, that means gold. So or, like this ring, is like often paired with argent, gold, silver. Okay, it can be the color, it can also be the material. Okay, so numéro 3, il faut prendre le taureau par les cornes. Il faut prendre le taureau par les cornes. So il faut. That's going to be a useful thing. It's often followed by, or it's normally followed by an infinitive. Il faut. Sometimes it can be followed by il faut que something, and then it's a subjunctive form. So if ever you hear il faut que and then like a subjunctive, a strange sounding version of a familiar verb, it's probably a subjunctive, okay? So il faut followed by an infinitive means it is necessary to do something. It is necessary, in this case, to take. This can also be translated as you have to, like the impersonal you. One must, you should, one should. But it is necessary is a good translation. You get the feel for what that means the more French you hear and speak. So il faut, followed by the infinitive prendre. Prendre means to take. So you have to, or it's necessary, or one must take le taureau. C'est quoi un taureau? C'est un animal. Okay. Le taureau, it looks a little bit like the English word for Taurus, which, if you know your star signs, is a bull. Okay. So you have to take the bull. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Par les cornes, right? By the horns. Par means by, okay? By way of, or by means of, if you like, or literally, like physically take it by the horns, by the reins, whatever. Il faut prendre le taureau par les cornes. Okay, so here, for example, you could use that il faut. It's quite a useful little structure. And you hear it quite a lot. You can hear it with, oh, don't do that. You know, if someone's giving you an order, you can hear il faut rather than a negative form. So, for example, il ne faut pas faire ça. Oh, il ne faut pas faire ça. Non, il ne faut. You might just hear il faut pas or il ne faut pas. So, even though it sounds like a faux pas, like that, you might think it sounds like that, but actually, il ne faut pas is written like this. So il ne faut pas, followed by the verb to do, for example, faire ça. No, il ne faut pas faire ça. No, don't do that. Like, you mustn't do that. Oh, that's not necessary. You shouldn't. You have like something along the lines of you should not, or one must not, or it's not necessary, or like don't do it. Okay, so that's useful. Le taureau par les cornes. So, in a minute, maybe we could actually talk about the meaning of these. Let's look at numéro 4. Pour l'instant, so just come out there, go down there a little bit. Ok. C'est l'intention qui compte. C'est l'intention qui compte. Donc, l'intention qui compte. Now, if you know that's a verb there at the end, if you know that means to count, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or to be important, ce qui compte, c'est l'intention. You could also like change it around and use the ce qui, that which, or what counts. Ce qui compte, c'est l'intention. That's really like typical in French, to put the ce qui followed by a verb, and then c'est, and then whatever it is. So what counts is, what's important is. Okay, so ce qui est important, c'est l'intention. Ce qui est important, c'est de prendre le taureau par les cornes, etc. So, ce qui. Okay, c'est l'intention qui compte, I guess translates into English as it's the thought that counts. What counts is the thought. It's the thought that matters. It's the thought that counts. So instead of using the la pensée, which is literally a thought, we use l'intention, which I think kind of makes more sense. A good intention is what counts. Now this last one here is probably my favourite. Vouloir, c'est pouvoir. That's maybe not so obvious. It's not so close in like linguistic structure, but the meaning is great. So vouloir is to want, like to want something. So that's actually an infinitive verb there. And pouvoir is also an infinitive verb, which means to be able. And that's often translated as can in English. But to be able, or to have the ability, or to be possible, also a nice translation. So this actually means where there's a will, there's a way. Now I know that looks a little bit strange, because it's not where there is a will, there is a way. You don't have ou in there, for example, or you don't have il y a in there, which means there is or there are. So it's a bit different, but the meaning is the same, because vouloir, to want to do something, that represents the word the will, the willingness, okay? And c'est pouvoir. Pouvoir means the ability to do something. So, where there is a willingness or the want, the will to do something, there is the ability to do it. Okay, vouloir, c'est pouvoir. And you might see it with a little comma there sometimes. So, let's go back over them and let's have a look if I've missed anything that could be useful. So, après la pluie, le beau temps. Après la pluie, le beau temps. Sunshine after the rain, or there is sunshine after the rain. Tout ce qui brille n'est pas or. Tout ce qui brille n'est pas or. All that glitters is not gold. Or everything that glitters is not gold. But briller, the er verb, so pop an r at the end there, and it's the infinitive of that er verb. Very regular. That means to like to shine, or to glisten or sparkle, to give out light, or to reflect light, if you like. Il faut prendre le taureau par les cornes. You have to take the bull by the horns. You must take the bull by the horns. C'est l'intention qui compte. It's the thought that counts. Vouloir, c'est pouvoir. Ça, j'adore ça, en fait. C'est mon préféré. Where there is a will, there's a way. Now, let's have a look. What else can I mention here that I haven't? So, okay. So, tout ce qui, I started talking about that, the ski sound. you might hear tout ce qui, tout ce qui, tout ce qui, tout ce qui. Tout ce qui becomes tout ce qui. So it kind of sounds like two syllables, tout ce qui, tout ce qui. But you might hear, if someone's talking more slowly or if they're articulating, tout ce qui, tout ce qui. Okay, so don't be surprised if you hear tout ce qui in one context or situation, but hear the same words pronounced tout ce qui in another situation. Okay, it's just two ways that you might encounter. And this ce qui that you hear a lot in French. I remember in my French spoken classes in like university, in my first year I heard ski, 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 and I was thinking, what is that ski thing? And you know, now I know. Ce qui. It's everywhere. So that's what it is. Okay, so here we've got the verbs. In fact, in the first one, il n'y a pas de verbe. There's no verb in that. After the rain, good weather. We've got the verb prier there. Prier. Here we've got the conjugation of the verb être, to be, in the third person singular. He, she, it, is, and that agrees with tout ce qui, everything that glitters or shines. And then that's negated by ne and pas. Ne in front of a verb that begins with a vowel becomes n'est pas, although there are exceptions to that, but that's the most common one that I can think of. Il faut means it is necessary, or one must, or you should, or you have to, depending on the translation, okay, and the context. Often followed by an infinitive verb, which is nice and easy. Il faut manger sain. Il faut lire des livres. Il faut voyager. Il faut danser, etc. And often you'll use that in the negative. Il ne faut pas. Sometimes you'll just have il ne faut pas. So if someone's talked about, oh, I might, you know, go and see if I can get in there, you know, or I might see if there's any coffee left. Oh no, il ne faut pas. Sometimes you'll hear faut pas, or ne faut. You'll hear faut pas, non faut pas, and it's like really short form for the negative form. So there's variations on that you'll hear. You might hear it on its own, but often you'll hear it, especially in like films or maybe songs or conversation, followed by an infinitive verb. C'est l'intention qui compte. Okay, so here, so we've got prendre and we have faut. Now I didn't make it clear that faut is from a very irregular looking verb, falloir. Okay, so if you see falloir, that's the verb that il faut comes from. And where's my verb book? And you'll tend to see that conjugated like in the third person in any tense. So you might see il faudra, il fallait, il faut. So have a look, if you're interested in unusual but useful verb structures or verb forms, look at falloir and go onto the conjugation tool. Wordreference.com has one where you can put in more or less any verb, and it will show you all the conjugations in French and the different tenses, as well as the subjunctive. Okay. Oh, oui, then we have compter. Nice ER verb. To count, as in to matter, or literally to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Then we have two infinitive verbs. They're both modal verbs actually. That's kind of verbs that you'll see often followed by another verb. But here they're kind of used like a noun. But they're useful. They're modal verbs. So this means to want in its usual context. And this means to be able. Okay, so they're really useful. Je veux, par exemple, is I want from this verb. And je peux, in fact I'll write them over here. Je veux. I might have to go in a little bit so you can see that. So je veux is like the present tense in the je, first person singular form, je veux. And je peux, I can. Like that can also mean I may. Like am I able? I may be able. Can I? Kind of thing. So je veux and je peux. Right. So with that in mind, I'm just going to move that out of the way. And I'm going to ask if you can remember how to say these things. So let me just like move this over here a little bit so you can't see the board. So how, for example, would you say after the rain there's sunshine, or there's good weather after the rain? Any idea? Après la pluie, le beau temps. Excellent. Okay, what about it's the thought that counts? It's the thought that counts. C'est l'intention qui compte. So it is the intention that counts. Okay, what about my favourite one? Where there's a will, there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. Vouloir, c'est pouvoir. Excellent. Okay. Everything that glitters is not gold. Everything that glitters is not gold. Tout ce qui brille, mixing up my ER verbs, tout ce qui brille n'est pas or. Tout ce qui brille n'est pas or. Okay. And that leaves, you have to take the bull by the horns. You have to, or it's necessary, or one must. Il faut take the bull by the horns. Prendre le taureau par les cornes. Il faut prendre le taureau par les cornes. Très bien. Okay, so I'm just going to go over a few of the verbs that are in those proverbs or expressions. I'll just put that there so you can kind of see over my shoulder which ones they are if necessary. So we have the verb to count. It's an ER verb, compter, compter. Then we have the verb to glitter or to shine, or to glisten, sparkle, that kind of thing. Briller, that's the one with a double L. You find that in the word famille or fille, ma fille, my daughter, my girl, and you find it in the name Camille, which is like Camille, with a double L, double L-E. So that's kind of E sound. Okay. Then we have the verb to take, which is prendre, in its infinitive form. We have c'est, it or this is, that's an être, and we have il n'est pas or n'est pas in the third person singular in the negative from the verb être, to be. And then we have vouloir et pouvoir, to want and to be able. Okay, so how would I say everything that or everything which? Any idea? Everything that, for example, everything that matters, or everything that counts, or everything that goes fast. Everything that. Tout ce qui. Tout ce qui followed by a verb. Tout ce qui brille. Tout ce qui roule. Tout ce qui va vite, etc. Tout ce qui. Or you might hear tout ce qui. Okay, tout ce qui. That's this bit here. Okay. Let's see. Oh yeah, okay, this is important. If I want to say it is necessary or one must, you have to, as in you have to take the bull by the horns. Voilà. Il faut, il faut, il faut, always in the third person singular form in whatever tense. This is the present tense, and it's often followed by an infinitive, alright? If it's followed by que, then the verb that follows will be in the subjunctive mood, okay? So you can find the subjunctive conjugations of any verb, really, on a conjugation tool, the likes of which you'll find at wordreference.com. Okay, merci beaucoup. Alors, my favourite one, I'm just going to revisit. The weather's got better lately, so après la pluie, le beau temps, enfin, et vouloir, c'est pouvoir. Okay, so if you're going through anything at the moment, just remember, where there's a will, there's a way. vouloir, c'est pouvoir. Merci bien et à la prochaine fois. Au revoir.